Hello, and welcome to Shrink, the podcast for the mind. I'm Philippe, and I talk to the people who want to have a better understanding of their issues with weight and body image. It's the first week of December, and this is what we usually call the beginning of the festive season. The season where we're going to celebrate Christmas, most of us will, New Year, so there will be a lot of family reunions and gatherings, and also end of year drinks and parties for in some companies. It's typically a time of the year when we put on weight, and for different reasons. One of them being that we tend to exercise less because it's colder, obviously, especially now. It's also because the days are shorter, and by that I mean, it's darker much earlier, and we don't see any light until later in the morning. So it's for some of us who like to go out for walks or runs in the park, for example. Well, we can be less tempted to go when we're dealing with this kind of weather and this kind of and the lack of light of sun. It's also the time of the year where in the media, on the social networks like Instagram, where we're being told it's time to party, and there are so many adverts about food and drinks, and we're supposed to join the crowds and be part of this festive season. And sometimes we don't really feel like it. Some of us are alone, and so this is a very difficult time of the year for those of us who don't have a family around them, or don't have a partner, or don't have children, so they can feel very lonely. And there is also the ones like maybe I'm part of this this group of people who in fact are quite happy to be by themselves, or just with their loved one or loved ones, maybe a few of them, but who are not really into big family reunions and long dinners, lunches, and all these occasions where food is so abundant. There is so much food, there is so much alcohol very often as well. So for many reasons it's quite challenging. You can be tempted to eat more for different reasons. One of them being that you're bored at one of these dinners or family reunions where there is food and drinks and stuff like that. And somehow by eating and then overeating, it's a way to get back to yourself, to have this kind of dialogue with yourself, usually not a very pleasant one, usually one where you may enjoy the food that you're having, but then when you're overeating, most of the time you don't really enjoy it, but then you start blaming yourself for overeating, and somehow you start having this dialogue, this conversation with yourself, which distances you from the group of people that you are with. And you may do that unconsciously, but on purpose. I don't know if you can say that, unconsciously and on purpose, but because you want somehow to escape from that situation that you're in, where everybody is there and you're supposed to be happy to see everyone and to listen to everyone's stories, and you find that uncle pretty boring, and you find that cousin quite pretentious, and maybe you were happy to see them for the first half hour or so, but after a while you get bored, and so somehow you start having this dialogue with you, and by overeating and feeling guilty about it, blaming yourself, it's a way to get back to your own intimacy, which you miss somehow. It's also difficult to eat the right amount of food when someone has invited you and has paid a lot of effort to put like very good food on the table. They've obviously spent a lot of money. They've spent hours and hours in the kitchen, and they're quite proud of what they've prepared. Not always, but it's something which is not that common. And you would feel bad not to honor them by eating the food that they're providing you, that the food that they've prepared for you and the rest of the people who are attending that meal. So even if you're not hungry, even if maybe you ate an hour or two before because you were then hungry, you would feel bad not to eat the food that is put on the table in front of you. I think though that we shouldn't feel bad because although we can be thankful for the effort that someone has made to host that dinner or that meal, or somehow we're talking about our health, we're talking about our body, and I really like the idea of respecting ourselves, respecting our body. We only have one life, and this is one of my motto. Your body is not a bin, so you shouldn't eat in order to please someone. I think we really never should do that, and we shouldn't eat in order to finish our plate or to finish whatever dish is on the table, just to please someone, or just so that they don't feel offended because you're not eating more or you're not eating enough in their eyes anyway. It's your body, it's not theirs. It's your health, it's not theirs. So you can be thankful for what people do for you in terms of dinners and drinks and stuff like that, but this shouldn't make you obliged to eat that food, to eat all that food, or to eat more anyway than what you want. What you want or what your body tells you it needs. Because again, if you're being mindful, your body is telling you, thank you, I've had enough. Once you've eaten a certain amount of food, it will tell you, thank you, I've had enough. It's not like your body is talking to you. It's not it's not a mystic thing. It's not like it's a feeling that many of us have lost somehow. Because we've been counting calories, or we've been told when we were young that we should finish our plate. And so somehow we've lost that very intimate dialogue with our body. And I really believe that in order to be fit, to be healthy, and to lose the weight that we need to lose, if that's the case, we have to get back to that feeling of having enough, to that feeling of this is not the right food for me now. I don't need to eat that. That's not what my body is needing now. What I need is this kind of food. I don't need to eat that cake. I'm happy to try it because it looks good, but that's not what my body needs at the moment. And at this time of the year, it's not unusual that the food is much richer in calories. It's a lot of very rich. It's a French expression, I think. When we say nourriture riche, it means rich food, which means it's usually it usually contains more fat, more sugar, and altogether it's loaded with calories, or anyway it contains more calories than the food we would usually have. And then there are usually more temptations, before we start eating. We're having a glass or two of champagne or Prosecco or whatever, and some nuts, some crackers. And then at the end of the dinner, there's the chocolates eventually, or the cake and stuff like that. Why am I saying all this? Because I don't want to sound like, it can be really nice. It is really nice thing to see you. It can be a really nice thing anyway to meet your family and friends and have these special dinners and special gatherings or parties. But I know from my experience with many of my clients that usually quite quickly afterwards they don't feel good about it. They feel bad both physically because they've eaten too much, and they feel bad also emotionally, because they know they didn't respect themselves. they didn't listen to their needs. They didn't listen to that inner voice inside them telling them, "Hey, you've had enough. You can stop now." And so they feel bad about themselves, and usually it's something they repeat the next day if there is another dinner or another lunch. And this part of the year is the part of the year when most people tend to put on weight. And they may think, oh, well, I know it's going to be, there will be more temptations. I will be tempted to eat more and food which is not really great in terms of health and diet. But then, in January, I will start changing things. I will pay more attention to my diet. But it's not that easy for different reasons. First of all, your body gets used to a certain type of food. If your body gets used to having food which is more rich in terms of fat and sugar, it will be more difficult in January to change that habit. It's also more difficult to change the habit around the quantities that we're eating. Our stomach gets used to larger quantities. So in fact, we kind of lose track of what is right for us. And usually these few kilos that we put on during the last 3-4 weeks of the year, it will take us quite a while to lose them. And I must say, if you're properly there when you're eating, it's not like it's not like it's a feast and we've enjoyed food that much. It's not like once you're not hungry anymore, you don't enjoy what you're eating that much. So, you could think, oh, okay, I'm just going to love that food, enjoy eating that food, and then from January, I will pay more attention to my diet. Usually we don't love it that much. I mean, I don't love it that much anyway, and I've heard it from many of my friends or clients that, when they think about it, they say, well, yeah, I like the first part of the meal, I like, the first bites of that dish, but in fact, afterwards, I don't even remember. I think I didn't really enjoy it that much. And then there is alcohol, because we're supposed to be festive. So usually festive is associated with drinks. Champagne, like I said earlier, Prosecco, wine, whatever drink. And it helps you relax. You feel more relaxed. You feel more connected to others as well, because if they drink and you don't, you may feel like there is some kind of a distance between you and them, which is not easy to manage or to deal with. And there is the pressure of the people around you tell you, come on, have another glass. Or you may be the one saying, come on, have another glass. You feel like you have to be jolly, you have to be entertaining people. And I mean, when I say it, I don't want to sound, it can be a great time of the year, but it's also a pretty difficult one for many of us. And keeping that in mind, you can be more in tune with how you're feeling. Let's say before you're going to one of these dinners, for example, you can ask yourself, how hungry am I? Take a deep breath and ask yourself, how do I feel? Do I feel like being there? Am I looking forward to this dinner? Do I remember what happened last time we had this Christmas dinner with my family? Did I enjoy it, or was it tricky because there was all these very tense conversations between some members of the family who never agree with each other, and and tell yourself, well, I'm not gonna fall into that trap again. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna enjoy whatever I feel like enjoying in terms of food and company. But if at some point I feel tired, or I feel like I've had enough, or I feel bored, or I feel like I don't belong to that group of people, friends or family, sometimes even with your family. You may feel like you don't really belong to that family. I will go. I will go home. I will say, thank you, that was really nice, but I'm so tired. I'm gonna go. Thank you so much. I mean, you can use your own words. I'm not very good at being over polite. Well, I'm polite, but not like not over polite. Or there is another thing which I just mentioned a few seconds ago. It's tiredness. The end of the year is a moment where most of us feel quite tired. It's been a very tense year, in terms of talking about the news and what's happening in the world, and we hear it daily. Israel, Ukraine, Palestine, and all. It's all around us, and global warming, and there's so much to be worried about, and it's so tiring. There's also, the economy, which is quite difficult for at the moment in many different countries. So we may be worried about our finances, and this is taking a lot of room in our daily life. Even if we don't really realize it, it's there. It's like it's in the background, like a noise. This world that I live in is in danger. This world that I live in is changing very quickly. I'm not so sure what's going to happen to me and my family or my friends, and that's very tiring. So when comes the end of the year, it's like that moment when we think, okay, now it's like we're resetting everything, and before we reset everything, we have one last big meal. I mean, that big meal can be part of that reset thing, and there is this thing about the new year, a new you, and it's not a new you. It's a new year. It's a new calendar year. But on the 1st of January, things won't have changed. Nothing will have changed. And I don't want to be pessimistic, but I don't think the world will be more peaceful. I don't think the planet will be in a better shape, and I don't think you will be either if you don't pay attention to what you eat and drink during these last few weeks. You are your biggest asset. Your health, the way you respect yourself, is your biggest asset. That's something that you can work on. That's something that you can have a grip on. That's something that you can improve. The rest, all these things around you, well, there isn't that much you can do about it. I wouldn't say there is nothing, because we can vote, we can protest, we can express our views in different ways, but somehow we don't have that much of a grip on these things. But we do on our health. We're responsible for it. Nobody's going to do it for us. Nobody is going to help you if you're not feeling well. Well, maybe the doctors, but then it's a bit late. When maybe we shouldn't wait, or we shouldn't wait until we get unwell to have someone to take care of us. And I think we should cherish that intimacy with ourselves, that respect, that self-respect. I insist on that because I think it's really essential. I think you shouldn't do it for others. Like I usually say, you shouldn't lose weight to look better. It shouldn't be your main goal. I mean, yes, it's nice to look better, but it's more about respecting your body, respecting your health, and being more in tune with who you are. And I know it's not easy. I know we can be struggling with it. I've been struggling with it for so many years, and I finally got to that point where I don't struggle with this anymore. Sometimes when I'm too tired, or I'm too distracted by the news or the social media or stuff like that, I can see myself kind of drifting into maybe overeating, not paying attention to my sleep, not making sure I get enough sleep, and but I can quickly get back on track. And that's really what I work on with my clients, and that's something you can achieve sometimes by yourself, by reading some books which can inspire you, or by seeing a therapist. Or there are different ways to approach that. So yeah, that will be my last advice for this last podcast episode of the year. It's the 50th podcast episode that I've done. It hasn't always been easy, because sometimes I doubt. I think, is my message clear? Is what I'm saying, interesting to many people? Is what I'm saying redundant? I mean, not redundant, that's not the right word, but usually I do it when I record a podcast episode. I do so many takes, and this time I thought, no, I'm going to do it in one take. And even if at some point I make some mistakes, or I hesitate about the things I want to say, or the things I say, I don't care. I want to do it in one take. I want it to be to be more truthful in a way, I guess. So thank you again to the many people who are listening to this podcast. I really appreciate your comments. Thank you for recommending it to some friends if you think it can inspire them. My podcast is not a therapy, but it can inspire you to make some changes in your life eventually, if you need to do some changes, and to be more caring and loving with yourself. So, a bit in advance, I already wish you a very, very happy Christmas and a happy New Year.